But you don't have to hurt and suffer that much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So he stitched me up, and then basically it started hurting again when he tied the last knot.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, now can I have some other painkillers?
I had to have some surgeries done last year, and I said I don't want a sedative, and I don't want any painkillers. I said just get on with it, and it was a colonoscopy. You know, it's just putting the camera up your back passage, and normally they give you a painkiller and a sedative, and there was these two lovely surgeons, female surgeons, and all the way to the table, they were saying, "Are you sure this is going to hurt?" And I'm saying, "No, I don't want to see what's happening. I want to be aware and check on you." And all the way to the table, they were saying that this is going to be really uncomfortable, Mr. Are you absolutely certain you don't? And when I was on the table, all the time they were apologising for every movement that they made, and I'm doing the best I can not to laugh at them all the time, because I'm a hypnotist, and I put myself into a trance state, and I'm laughing now thinking about it, because they look pale. I didn't tell you the story the other day, though. They look pale because they thought that I must be in real discomfort and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like trying not to laugh while they're doing it, because I've got the two cameras there, and I'm having a fabulous time. And I could feel inside the pain and what the discomfort of it, but I was just turning it off, because I'm enjoying the show. And I was actually able to guide them, and I was ready to move to a better position to help the camera go in. And I was feeling that I was a lot safer, because I wasn't heavily sedated and dopey. And it was a great show.
Well, after that, enlightening experiential story, it is now 9:41 on my laptop, so technically I'm a minute late in starting, so if we can do the obligatory mic muting please, and we shall commence session number, I'm losing the plot mate, session number, how many days have we done of this? We're day 3, aren't we?
Yeah.
If we're day 3, this is session number 6, yeah. Okay, right, welcome back. Only because there was talk in the breaks of pain control and stuff. I'm not going to go into that in heavy depth here, other than for people with long-term pain. Yes, I do use the complete mind therapy session. When I say I use it, and have used it with probably 99%, maybe more like 97%. I haven't totally kept track, but with the vast majority of clients, whatever it is, whether it's a habit, addiction, fear, phobia, emotional issue, PTSD from having been raped or being in a war zone, whatever, couldn't care less what it is, from A to Z, whatever, I use my complete mind therapy structure. Well, what I actually do is, as I say, we do this questionnaire stuff exactly as I've said. I just looked at some of the comments before, and I know there was one there from JT saying, well, yeah, it'll work for Jonathan Cudavy's British bad boy of hypnosis persona. You know what? Some of the most gentlest, quietest, mouse-like sounding, what I would say look like tree-hugging, arty-farty, winky-wanky, new age style therapist that I've taught this stuff to and said, do it this way. There's 2 ways of doing it, my way and the wrong fucking way. Do it this way and you will be more successful. And Stuart can probably have conversations with you either on Messenger there or in the group or whatever. He's witnessed certain people at events who've gone, tried it, as uncomfortable as it felt for them at first, and then it was, in less than a week, they're contacting, going, wow, why didn't I do it this way sooner? They were getting better results. They were getting, well, for reasons you'll see tomorrow as well, they were getting more referrals. Because most therapists, even if they're good at getting results, don't get anywhere near the level of referrals they should be getting because they don't do certain things that I'm going to teach you tomorrow. So I personally use this CMT session for pretty much everything, unless, as I say, it's for a TV or radio show, where literally if it's a live show, I might get there for a breakfast TV show. They might literally introduce me in the green room, if I'm lucky, an hour or two in advance, brilliant, I can do stuff. But sometimes they can be twats about it and not introduce me to the person that they want me to, under test conditions, treat until literally a couple of minutes before going on air, so I can't really do anything. On air, we don't really do anything other than maybe I might do a convincer, because we're not allowed to broadcast the hypnotic induction in England anyway. But I might do something like the eyes follow thumb that's guaranteed to work, or the arm and eye closure we went through yesterday, or something like that. Just so it shows the power a bit, and then off we get sent, and later on they bring you back in the show. You've seen the format, surely. And you could have up to an hour, but you might only have 15-20 minutes. You might have the next section and then the advert break before they're having you back on, or commercial break if you're in a different country. And that is when I will use something like spectacles, testicles, wallet or watch, over a light with me and move my finger, EMDR, blink, 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 or follow the watch in a circle, visual coding disorientation technique, or the Hogan, the eye movements and so-called havening. Doesn't matter what label you give it, at the end of the day it's just an important seeming ritualistic process that works because of that 0 to 10 ploy I taught you yesterday. And I'll do that, and then we go back on air, and I'm glad to say today it's never failed. Because it depends what your perception of failure is. I've had a person who started off as kind of a 10 or 11, who by the time we went on air was still saying they were a 3, and when they ended up holding the snake, they then were asked how they felt about it. They said, to be honest, I'd sooner not be doing it, but I don't feel like my life's going to end like I would have done in the past. So I still regarded that as a success, and being a TV show live, I acted as though that's perfectly normal, because that's another key to being a hypnotist. Whatever happens, whether it's on stage or in therapy, never act as though you're surprised, because you're the expert, you've seen it all before, you've done it all before, nothing's new to you. Always react as though, cool. So in that case, it was cool, but just imagine now, you managed to get down to a 3 in kind of 20 minutes. I normally see clients for 60 to 90 minutes, so we've only had a third of the normal time, but don't worry, you know what? Free of charge, backstage after the show, I will give you a proper full-length session so that we can take that down from the 3 to the 0. I then look good on TV or on the radio show, because they get a bit more attention and feel special because of the processes we spoke about yesterday and the day before. They end up getting the 3 reduced down to the 0, because they always could have done it anyway, and it doesn't look like a failure, because the way it's been structured anyway, it's down to them to prove they've done it right and all that kind of stuff. So it's about your reaction on stage. If somebody doesn't react the way you want, don't go, for fuck's sake. I've seen it. I've seen so-called professional stage hypnotists have an unexpected occurrence, somebody having an ab reaction, they've never had it before, and they were never taught about it when they were trained, and I will be covering that before the course is over, fear not. And they're just flicked into the freeze position of fight, flight and freeze. Because fight is like, yeah, I'm going to hit this head on and deal with the problem. Flight is run away to get to a position of safety, and freeze is that, what do I do? Shall I run away? Shall I do something? I don't know, it's that confusion, it's arguably the hypnotic trance state. And there are some people out there who've done full studies on it and said that they have brainwave pattern proof that it is the free state of fight, flight, freeze. Do I believe them? I believe that more than I do some other fucking studies, I'll tell you. It's closer to reality than a lot of the nonsense that's taught out there, but I still think it's effectively bollocks. They taught it you from the point of view, because pain is a bit like fear. We all know the acronyms: fear, false evidence against reality, false evidence appearing real, or, face everything and rise, or fuck everything and run. It's describing the fight or flight there, but the others are saying that our perception of things really is what is the problem. And that's what everything we've talked about is about, helping people change their perceptions. Change that pattern matching in the brain we spoke about yesterday, the 8 tamed or the pair. So, before we get to the complete mind therapy structure, which will close today, and then tomorrow, well, we might get it done today, but if not, tomorrow we'll do the complete unconscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress, and then we'll go into marketing, how to get clients, together with the safety and legal elements such as public liability, professional indemnity insurance, GDPR a little bit, and that kind of stuff, so that ultimately you will have everything to at least start earning as you're learning. Because obviously you can start seeing clients and then continue your studies with the stuff I've given you for free. And those people who are already in the boot camp can focus on the things, the areas they want to move into. Because nobody who buys the boot camp, I'll just briefly say, nobody will ever likely study everything that's in that boot camp. There's 30 years work there of mine. There's work, as I say, stuff from 16 other world-class experts, and there is over, I kid you not, well, it's well over 600 hours. It's close to 700 hours of training videos, about 500 hours of audio MP3s, probably somewhere in the region of 20,000 pages of written information at least. Websites, business building. No one will ever, and I don't expect anyone to study it all. The point of it is that you never have to spend another penny with anyone ever again. Because what you do with the bootcamp, if you're clever, because you've got free access to email me for help and advice at any time as a member, and if the answer's not in the bootcamp, I will take time to video call you or write out an email. But 99.9% of the time recurring, in fact today I think it's 100% of the time, what I will actually do is turn around to you and say, what you've just asked, if you go into the bootcamp and look at this section called this, not only will you get your answer, but you'll learn more about it than you realised you actually do need to know to be truly successful at it. And then off you go and you just look at that bit in the bootcamp when it becomes relevant to you. So if you wanted to move into the niche of doing sports clients, sports psychology stuff, getting with football teams and famous boxers and stuff that I've done over the years, then I would answer your email and go, okay, look at the Life's a Game sports psychology video set, watch them. It will take you 12 hours, but look, if you do literally an hour a day for 12 days in less than 2 weeks, you'll have studied them all and you will know more than you will if you went and spent 5,000 bloody quid on this specialist NLP sports psychology course, guaranteed. So it's about you utilising your time, because not all of you want to be doing, or rephrase that, you might want to be doing the same things, but you shouldn't be doing the same things, as we'll cover more tomorrow, because you need to create and carve a niche so that you can charge an even bigger premium rather than being the jack of all trades. So, we're very nearly at CMT. I've covered about the control room in the mind. Use common sense. It can be used for anything and everything. Complete mind tapping we already did. Yeah, 2 others. The mirror stare silly voices method, as I like to call it, which again, these are things that I will either A, use in media scenarios, or in public in a bar if somebody asks for a bit of help. I might, if I'm feeling generous, or I feel impressed enough by their large offers of free bottles of champagne or something, to be bribed enough to actually spend 10 or 15 minutes with them and go through an important seeming ritualistic process, in which case I may use the mirror stare silly voices method if it's if when I ask them some questions they say to me that, well, let me give you an example. Invisible client here. Okay, so why do you feel that you end up eating those sugary fatty foods and stuff? Because you know you can tell yourself consciously that if you didn't, you'd be a step further forward positively to losing weight, and if you did a bit more exercise, what is it? What happens? And if they, and quite often it will happen, they will say, well, it's like I get a voice in my head, my conscience, or, you know. And if they don't say that, I will suggest to them, and this is in waking state, I'll say, is it like you've got an internal voice and you've got a conflict? That little voice is going, go on, don't worry, you can always start the diet on Monday type thing. Pretty much, most of the time, people say yes to that. And it seems like you've read their mind a bit as well, so it's got that impact thing. At which point I say, I'll tell you what I want you to do is close your eyes and imagine yourself in a situation that you've been in the past, like seeing the sugary or fatty foods, and the internal voice going, go on, have it, it won't matter, the diet will start on Monday, that you took seriously enough to then cave in and have the cake. Because we don't want that voice to ever bother you or affect you in that same way ever in the future, do we? Because you know consciously that that's bad advice, you know that, but knowing it wasn't enough. So we need to do something about it. So in your mind's eye, start to hear it saying those things to you. And then in your mind's eye, just imagine that you can find a button, a lever, a dial, a switch, or whatever in a way that feels right for you in your mind's eye, that it's almost as if you can turn that dial, that switch, that lever, or whatever in such a manner that the voice starts to sound really ridiculous. It's really stupid, that voice. Oh, it's telling you don't have a kid, don't do it. Or no, it's telling you, do have one, it won't matter, it won't matter, it won't. Ooh. And it's the most ridiculous sounding thing. And in fact, if you start to get that smile on your face, it's fine. It's fine to laugh and feel fantastic knowing how ridiculous that idea and that voice is, and how what you know consciously is in fact sensible, right, and the right thing to do, and that you find easy to do from this moment forward. Not yet, if you understand, okay, do it, and I wait till they're smiling, because then I'll start going, oh, it's ridiculous, it's the most ridiculous voice. NLP will call that changing the submodalities, the different levels of, you know, what they could hear, what they heard. Modalities is hearing, tasting, smelling, seeing, feeling, but then they have submodalities. Are they seeing in colour, black and white? Are they hearing it loud, quiet, close up, far away? By altering something, by changing what it is that's currently in their head, yeah, then you change the outcome. If it remains the same as it is, the results will remain the same. To get a different outcome, you have to change the initial what's going on. That's why it's called change work. The clue's in the name. So yeah, that's another method I use. And one final method I use quite often, which again had come under the banner of submodalities work in NLP. You don't need to know the fancy titles, that's all they are, the fucking titles that were made up to make people sound fucking important so they could charge you thousands of pounds for courses to learn stuff that actually is largely common sense, but is certainly, you can learn a lot fucking easier, especially if you find somebody like me. And I know that sounds egotistical, but that is why I give a full 100% money back guarantee. Change colour, texture, direction, shape, etc. That's my memory aid. It probably has got a title some wanker made up to justify charging money for a course on it that lasts for a full weekend. I can teach you in 3 or 4 minutes. It's the idea, and this is brilliant with panic attacks and shit. It's the idea that, and it ties in with 8-tame, if you go back to yesterday's stuff, the 8-tamed or the APA, the pattern matching shit, ties in metaphorically with that. In so much as people's feelings are just reactions to matched patterns that we spoke about yesterday, refer back to that. So if we can change the pattern matching, we will change the feeling, therefore we will change the reaction and the result. Okay? That should make sense based on yesterday. So, there is a belief that all things in life have a connected feeling of some sense, whether that's being calm, relaxed, confident, in the zone, stressed, worried, whatever. Everything's got a connected feeling. People don't necessarily dwell on it consciously normally, but when it's something that's affecting their life negatively, then they do. So for example, and with common sense you can apply this to anything and everything, but I'll give you the example of people who have panic attacks. They tend to, quite often, I'm generalising, everyone's different, I know, but quite often they'll go, oh, it's almost as though it starts off, sorry, I'm going to have to jump up here because I'm off that camera, I'm on the other, but you saw my hand on my belly, it's kind of, they'll go, put the hand to the belly, it's like something starts in my gut, and it feels like it's spinning, and then it'll move kind of up my body. Like it's spinning, and it moves down and spins and goes up, and they'll describe some kind of movement. Okay, it can be different for everyone, but they'll describe some kind of movement. And if you, as we said before, can change that movement to something different, then the reaction will be something different. So if the movement they describe that leads to a panic attack can be changed so that it doesn't ever happen again, in those situations that trigger panic attacks, it means it can't happen. So, I would get them to close their eyes and I'd say, okay, what would you do? Imagine a time in the past when this used to really bother you. Get a sense of the feeling of it, and we do the old 0 to 10 nonsense is also going to be used at the start and the end. This is the stuff that gets put in the middle, okay? I say, what would I like you to do? Get a sense of the feeling where that feeling starts, and then on the count of 3, when I click my fingers, just put your hand on that area, 1, 2, 3, and in this case, invariably, it would be the stomach, but that's not on screen. So we'll just pretend it's up here so you can see my hand, okay? And I'd say to them, okay, that's the area. This time on the count of 3, that feeling is connected to something inside. And I want you to imagine, as daft and as ridiculous as it sounds, but as we've covered already, the more ridiculous something seems, the more likely it's to work, because people can only rationalise you'd only be doing something that daft if you knew it worked. You say, on the count of 3, I'm going to click my fingers. I want you to imagine pulling out of you that feeling, and it will take on some kind of form, some kind of shape. It's different for everyone. There's no right or wrong answer. Only you will know what's right for you. 1, 2, 3. Imagine pulling it out now. And invariably you'll see them do that, or sometimes they go that. It doesn't matter. Whatever they do, you react as though that's perfectly correct. Because then they will perceive it as being perfectly correct, and therefore it takes them down the path of it working for them. You say, that's fantastic. Now, with your eyes closed, but it's almost as if you can see what you've got in your hand, just tell me, will you, the following things. Take a few moments to get a sense of a feeling and tell me, what shape is that in your hand? What shape is that in your hand? We're not saying what it is, because obviously we don't know what they've imagined. But what shape is that in your hand? And you write it down so you don't forget. Excellent. Which is kind of a piss take of Erickson, who always, he'd let the client talk and go, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, we go, excellent. Now, this time on the count of 3, get a sense of a feeling of what colour it is, and just tell me. 1, 2, 3. What colour is it? Oh yeah, so I've got to give you an example, haven't I? So let's say they said it was a square, a cube, and for the colour they say it's, let's say, red. And then say, this time on the count of 3, I want you to get a sense of a feeling by touching it in your mind's eye, what it feels like, okay? Well, the texture actually, is it hard, is it soft, is it squishy, is it what? 1, 2, 3. It's what? Well, it's really rough and spiky. So you've got a really rough and spiky red cube. Okay. Is it light? Is it heavy? Is there anything else you can tell me about it on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. It suddenly feels what? Really heavy. So it's a heavy, spiky, red cube, yeah? Nod your head if that's right. They do. That's an acceptance. Whatever they say is right, that's what you write down. Say, okay, in a few moments' time, I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye, on the count of 3, in a way that feels right for you, that it's almost as if, whether you want to use a blowtorch, a pickaxe, an electric saw, a chainsaw, a gun to shoot bits off, it doesn't really matter. A blowtorch to heat it up so it changes from, being the texture it is. Whatever you need to do, whatever you feels right. So you can take that cube and change it into whatever shape you feel it needs to be, so that it can never bother you, worry you or concern you as it once did in the past. Now again, if you understand, fantastic. In which case, 1, 2, 3, take a few moments to do that and notice how much better it starts to feel. Excellent. This time on the count of 3, when I click my fingers, I want you to imagine whether you're going to use sticky back plastic, crayons, permanent markers, paint. It doesn't matter, but in some way I want you to change the colour of your shape as it is now. But incidentally, what shape is it now? Oh, it's round. Okay, fantastic. But it's still red, isn't it? So I want you to change the colour to a colour that you know can no longer bother you, worry you or concern you in the way it once did in the past. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Nod your head when you've done that. And when they do, excellent. What colour is it now? It's what? Yellow. Oh, excellent. So you've got a yellow ball now. Brilliant. Okay, this time on the count of 3, you said it was spiky. What I'd like you to do, maybe you might want to use sandpaper, a blowtorch to burn the spikes off, sandpaper to grind them down, I don't know. It's up to you, whatever feels right for you. On the count of 3, just imagine making the ball maybe smooth, getting rid of those spikes. 1, 2, 3. Now, nod your head when you've done that. Excellent. And finally, On the count of 3, this time, you said before it was very heavy. So whatever you need to do to that, it may be that you put a syringe in and pull out some of its contents so that it has less mass and therefore becomes lighter. It may be actually that you fill it with some kind of magic helium that makes it lighter than air. It really doesn't matter how ridiculous it may seem. Whatever feels right for you, using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, is perfectly right for you. Just do that on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Right now, and nod your head when you've done that. Excellent. So now you've got a lovely yellow, smooth, lighter than air ball within you, within your hand. What you need to do now is put that back where that used to bother you in the past used to be, because we can't leave that empty void, otherwise you walk around in life feeling you've got a gap, something missing. We want you need to feel and be the whole person, the whole you. But know right now that when you put this smooth, round, lighter than air yellow ball into your body, it's all those things that are positively and permanently with you from this moment forward. They're all the right things to make you feel calm, relaxed, confident, safe, secure and positive in all those situations that once used to bother you in the past. And only when you know for yourself 100% for certain, and only when it feels 100% right for you, I'd like you just right now to put your hand back towards the area of your body it was before and place that back in. Then nod your head. Excellent. Now we need to make sure that that can never fall out of your body, because it needs to remain there, but also we want to make sure it moves in the right direction. So before you magically either sew up, staple gun together, glue together, or whatever feels right for you in an imaginary manner in your mind's eye, your body, so that that remains positively and permanently locked in place to help you, I want you to flick it in the correct direction so it moves the way you know it needs to move to protect you, to make you feel fantastic in all those situations that used to bother you in the past. And when you've done that, just nod your head. Excellent. And so you can carry on and then tell them to open their eyes and hey presto, scale of 0 to 10 bookend at the end, the number's gone down. Praise the Lord, they're cured. And yes, you can then confront them with what triggered them off in the past, and they won't react the way they did previously, especially if it's on TV, because really they want the 15 minutes of fame and they know it'll look better to be cured. That's more saleable as a story to women's magazines, and if they know that, then they are far more likely to get cured in the short space of time that you've got, which is conveniently coincidental, because I make sure that they fucking know that before we walk out onto the studio set. Even if I've only got 60 seconds with them, I go, you know what? When I've cured you today, you're going to be able to make a bloody small fortune from selling your story to women's magazines. Boom. Bribery, incentive, doesn't cost me a penny, but it also happens to be true. Yeah, it's the sad reality of TV stuff. In fact, there is in the boot camp a thing on treating celebrity clients, but more importantly, there's a section called "There's Still No Such Thing as Hypnosis." And if you watch that, TSNSTAH, there's still no such thing as hypnosis seminar. If you're in the boot camp or when you get in the boot camp, I don't name names because I prefer not to get sued. But I do tell you enough to do Google searches to discover which television hypnotists and life therapists and life coaches regularly use what may as well be called stooges and actors and actresses on TV shows who claim to have certain issues and phobias that get cured during that television show. But in actual fact, when you go digging, they've previously in the past been cured and then relapsed, so they can keep selling their story to women's magazines over a period of a number of years. They're what television researchers like to call easy stories. Yes, it happens more often than you would like. Or, and this applies to a lot of the really big names, and I'm not saying that Paul McKenna's ever done this, okay? But I'm telling you that somebody told me that Paul McKenna had cured them of something during the NLP course that they'd been on. And then this person who has worked as a therapist since that course ended up going on the Ruby Back Show on BBC Two in England, apparently with the issue that had been cured at the course a period of time previously. Strange. But not strange that it managed to get cured of it on the TV show quick. Because what a lot of celebrity therapists, media therapists will do, not all of them, but a lot of them, is they will cure somebody in advance, supply that individual to the TV company, but before the show just artificially implant the idea that the person's got the phobia back so that they react correctly and shit scared when the spider comes out. But then they're not having to cure the phobia, they've only got to give a post-hypnotic really of, this time when I awaken you, you're completely back to normal as you were just before we entered this TV studio here today. In other words, spiders don't bother you, you'll be a happy to old one. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. And that's all they need to do, because they're not actually doing therapy, they're just removing arguably a suggestion. We'll give them the credit that that's what's happening, and that it's not that the person's motivated by the fact they get a night in a nice hotel, first class train paid for, or travel expenses and 15 minutes of fame that makes them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, like I said before. Although that is very close to the truth. I think I do actually name names in the bootcamp. Anyway, complete mind therapy. Excellent. We're on time. 10 past 10. Excellent. So, they've... oh no. We've gone to change the colour thing. The write it down and burn it. Trust me, I've got notes here and I haven't done that. One other technique I'll use, it's very visual for TV, but it's great in therapy as well, near the beginning, but I'll use this as a bookend thing. If they were coming to my office, I wouldn't use this as the full therapy, only because I could do, and it would work because of the 0 to 10 thing, but I wouldn't purely because they paid for an hour of my time, and if within 5 minutes I've cured them, yeah, they've got the result they paid for, but they might not feel loved, wanted, needed, and all those other things. They might feel a bit fobbed off, and that could lead to symptom substitution or relapse, whereas we make them feel really special and on top of the world, and that's amplified every day by listening to the backup audio CD, which will be the CMT one, that focuses on making them, build them up as a human being so they don't relapse. But a technique I will use with the bookend 0 to 10 is to give them a piece of paper. That's what it is. And a pen, a marker pen. And I tell them, in your mind's eye, close your eyes, get a sense of a feeling of that issue that you want to deal with today. If it's an emotional issue, a trauma, or if it was a phobia, I'd say think about that phobia as it used to bother you. But rather than if you were scared in the past, again, I'm speaking as though they're already cured once they're in my office or on the call. If you were in the past scared of spiders, I don't want you to write scared of spiders on the piece of paper. I want you to give you this phobia or this issue or this habit or this addiction, or one word that sums up the way it makes you feel now. One word that sums up those regrets you've got, the self-blame, the inner anger of I wish I'd dealt with this sooner. All that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret that's built up within you over the years because you know you should have dealt with this sooner, it would have been better for you. Today's the day where you move forward in your life. So what one word will sum all that up? I don't need to know, this is content-free therapy as we call it. I don't need to mind rape you and have you relive this. I just want you to come up with one word, write it down on the paper and then fold the paper in half like this and in half again like that so I can't see what's on it. And then tell me when you've done that. And so you know I can't say anything, I'll turn my back. So they then write a word that symbolically means to them everything I've just said. They fold it in half. They fold it in half again. And I ask them to give it to me. And I say, notice that when I take it off you and pull it away, the more I pull it away, the better you feel about it, don't you? Because it's got no energy. But if I was to give you this issue back, this is everything that represents that issue that used to bother you in the past. If I bring it back to you, if I was to give you that back, and I was to let you leave this office today with that problem still in your life and those issues, you'd sooner not have that, would you? And not surprisingly, they'll go, no. So then you've already anchored them to the idea that close to them they don't want, a way they prefer. So you go, notice as I pull it away from you, it does genuinely feel better, doesn't it? You feel better about the idea of being able to leave that behind positively and permanently here today so that it doesn't bother you as it once did in the past. That's true, isn't it? You genuinely can feel that. And they will be able to because of the way you've guided them with that. Watch the video again, use the kind of terminology and body language that I'm using. You say, well, that's fantastic, but you know it's still there, so you know there's the possibility of it perhaps coming back at some point unexpectedly. The only way to know for certain you could be confident that this will never bother you, worry you or concern you as it once did in the past, would be if we were to destroy that completely. That's correct, isn't it? So it can never bother you as it once did. And they'll go, yep, that's correct. Say, well, in that case, stare directly at the piece of paper, think of that word, because in a minute we'll destroy it. And when we do, and they'll think you're going to rip it up or something. When we do, that means it's a sign and a signal that can never bother you, worry you or concern you as it once did in the past. Gone! Wow, that's weird, did it? Just blink, 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 blink. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And then out through your mouth. In through your nose. Out through your mouth. Close your eyes and just try to get a sense of a feeling of how it used to bother you in the past. You were at number 8 or 9 before. Just try and get a sense of a feeling. Notice how much different that is because you've let go of that. Gone completely right now and just open your eyes. On 0 to 10, 10 up there, the worst it ever was in the past. 0 down here, nothing. Gone completely. Where down there is that number now? Generally, using that technique, I always get a 0, but at the very least it will be a 2 or a 1, in which case you say, do you feel that's low enough for you to proceed in life happily, or would you like us just to get it down totally to 0? If they say totally to 0, then I'll do spectacles, tacticals, wallet and watch, or hugging, or eye movement, or something, but any important seeming ritualistic process. But that one's very powerful. All you need for it is, these are called, it is just literally a little, it's a book of sheets of paper that's about, I don't know what size I'd say, but it's in relation to my hand, that's how big it is. If you go online and you go on propdog.co.uk, propdog.co.uk, look under flash paper products, and then look for flash paper booklets. This is a booklet of flash paper. That's what it is. People can write on this in a Sharpie marker, and it just seems like it's thick tissue paper. The beauty is, you do all that metaphor stuff closer and further away from them. Watch the video again. There's no tricks to it. If you do it what I did, the way I did it, say the things in the kind of way I said them, then you will get the same result as long as you act as if you will and transmit that intent and confidence, because that's all it is. The key is that they think you may be going to rip it or something. They don't know this is special magic paper. So when you suddenly come up and let the flame apply and go, says me being too eager because I know it almost blinds me when I do it, and go, gone completely. The moment that flashes and they're staring at the paper, arguably, people who do EMDR and stuff would tell you that that flash, sudden and unexpected, it affects the amygdala and causes a release of any negative trapped emotions that are there. And I promise you, that's not a fucking joke. If you read bullshit like this, and I do so that you don't have to, okay? I don't suggest you get this book. Could I tell you now that I've already taught you more of use in the real world about EMDR with what I demonstrated earlier than there is in that entire fucking book by the person who apparently is supposed to be the expert on EMDR. But according to their theories, that sudden boom would have caused the amygdala to either instill some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder or to release it, depending on the context. And the context is the most important thing, because we've already set up a safe environment where you are the perceived authority figure, and that anything we do is already being anticipated with expectancy to be part of the therapeutic process, hence therefore it is beneficial to them. And we've already verbally, linguistically set it up, when you watch the video again, that yes, they prefer to let go of it. They don't want it back. They want to leave it behind positively and permanently. Yes, they agree it should be destroyed so that when it does, and we also raise our voice and go, gone completely, the flash, the gone completely and the hand movement, there's three things going on, so they're getting sensory overload, which even if you've done no formal hypnotic induction, you don't need it for this, because that will bypass the critical faculty analytical area of the brain and go directly into the computer bank and go boom, like an antivirus software, and get rid of the shit that was causing them an issue and give them permission to change and leave all that shit behind. It's very powerful. It works. Anyway, as I said, the vast majority of the time, I really should get a what do you call them? A coaster up here. Just let me get something to put this can on. Could I appear to be damaging one of my computer desks? I'll use a CD cover. That'll do. Yeah, I've somehow managed to stain the computer desk with a beer can. How's that work? Never mind. Let's put that there. Excellent. Right, complete mind therapy. We've covered the fact that they paid advertising we cover tomorrow. So you've got the client, they paid at the very least a 50% deposit, but ideally all of it. They've gone through the questionnaire process that I've spoke about with strict rules, so they're starting to follow commands, they're attaching importance to it and all that kind of stuff. They show up, we get rapport using the rapid rapport technique that I've already told you about, so I won't repeat. And we get them to basically sit down or lie down, because any issues that may alter this I will talk about when we talk about ab reactions. This is for the 99% of clients where everything's hunky-dory. Not for that old client who put something on their questionnaire that's a red light warning that says, shouldn't be treating this client, they really should be seeing somebody else, not me. We'll cover that at the end, but this is for the vast majority of cases. They show up, you get them to, now if they're all home, if you're doing it on a video broadcast, we'll cover that tomorrow, then you've got to tell them in advance that ideally to get their laptop or their device or wherever positioned so they don't have to hold it, so it's not going to fall on the floor, so that they can definitely hear at the very least, but initially so they can see ideally, but at the very least they need to be able to hear you whilst they're able to ideally lie down. I prefer them to be lying down because of that anchored connection of going to sleep at night, because my aim is to get them to go and feel like the magic's truly worked. In the rare occasions where they maybe don't go to sleep, this will still work for them because it's got every therapeutic trick in the book in it, but I do prefer it much more when they feel they've had the magic. We get them to lie down. No. They've arrived, took the money, got rapport. I will generally, at this point, if they're with me physically, okay, I will generally at this point say we need to check that you're in the right state of mind for this, okay? So as long as you take this seriously, use your powers of intelligence, imagine all that bullshit we covered before, and I'll go through the eyes follow the thumb ritual with them, which is guaranteed to work. So it's proved to them that I say things, they imagine it, it becomes reality. Step one. Then I will, step two, probably, more than likely, use my tapping. But if I'm feeling that I'm bored with doing the tapping, then I might do the so-called havening. Or if I'm bored with that, I might do the MDR. Or if I'm bored with that, I might use the flash paper ploy. Whatever takes my fancy that day, so it adds a bit of variety and enjoyment for me. Because really, it's all about me, not the fucking client. Otherwise, if I get bored doing the session, it's no help to the client. I need to enjoy it a bit as well, so that I give my best to the client and actually take time to use the right voice tones at the right time and all that kind of stuff. Being selfish to be selfless. But that's with the bookend technique of the 0 to 10. So that's point 2. At this point now, they're like critical faculty analytical area bypass. May as well give up type thing. So the power of 3, logically the third thing is also going to work for them as well. Especially if they end up feeling like they've experienced hypnosis. So, Then I get them to lie down, get them to close their eyes, and tell them that just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed at all times, unless I say otherwise, then this will prove to be 1,000,000% successful for you. And just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then you'll find that something you once thought in the past may have been difficult to achieve will actually prove itself to be so ridiculously easy. Nod your head if you understand. And they nod their head, they're agreeing to keep their eyes fucking shut. That's excellent. At this point I can dim the lights even more, so they're not aware that I've dimmed the lights even more at a conscious level, but it will help promote sleep. Read Dr. Herbert Benson's books, Relaxation Response and Beyond the Relaxation Response. I can hike the heating up a bit, and I can tell them, you know, I'm just going to put a blanket over your legs, I'll just drop it on you, it won't bother you, worry you or concern you. If you're ever going to touch a client, tell them where you're going to touch them, when you're going to touch them and how you're going to do it, and then only do exactly what you've told them you will do in the way you've told them you will do it, at the time you've told them that you will do it, so that they've already had the opportunity, if they wanted to say no. Because if they don't say no and you say to them, you nod your head if you understand, which is acceptance, then it's fine if you told them in a moment, I'm going to lift up your right arm by lifting up your arm by the wrist, and then I'm going to drop it into your lap, and when I drop it into your lap, it'll just help you sink down, drift down 100 times deeper, more relaxing and enjoyable for you. You've got to tell them where you're going to touch them, how you're going to touch them, when, where and how. And then say, nod your head if you understand, so you're getting consent and understanding. Very important, both morally, ethically, and to stop them suddenly going, what the fuck's going on? And undoing all the good work you've done. You don't want that. So, where are we up to on this list here now? It's now the induction. Now, if you want to, this is where you can also give yourself some pleasure and enjoyment. Ultimately, the bottom line is to tell them to close their eyes and keep the bloody things closed. And from that point, you can go into the long, drawn-out, progressive muscular relaxation induction. If you've got somebody who says they want you to use a swinging watch, swing the watch a bit, and then tell them, and now close your eyes down, and then use the same phraseologies I've told you before so that they don't open their eyes. Or if you want to practice a rapid induction, because you might be thinking about doing a bit of public demonstrations, then fine, this is the point to do it, because before you tell them to close their eyes, because if for some reason they don't go under or react the way that you want them to, it's fine, you just react as though that's perfectly normal and can go, excellent, that tells me exactly what I need to know, and you know what? This is going to work for you today, so just lie down on the couch and close your eyes. And you go into it as though it doesn't bother you, it's completely normal, and therefore they'll respond as though, hey, this is going completely to plan. But if they do go under, so to speak, then you can just react by going, that's fantastic. From this moment forward, just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed. So it gives you an opportunity, an arena to practice, if you wanted to, rapid induction techniques that are taught in the boot camp in a no pressure, can't fail scenario, which because you know you can't fail means you will have more confidence, which ironically and paradoxically means you're more likely to be successful doing it. And then as you get used to it and realise that it is all about just confidence and use of certain psychological and physical trickery techniques that you can learn if that's your thing, it's the perfect time to try one of them out, because if it doesn't go the way you wanted, you can just go, excellent, that tells me what I need to know. And it tells me that this is going to be brilliant today. So just lie down on the magic couch, close your eyes, and you go into it. You just react as though it's perfectly normal. If you do that, the client doesn't know any better. Because remember, you're the expert with the piece of paper on the wall. That you're the person they've already paid a sizable fee to because of your advertising and your social proof of success. So they're there then, with their eyes closed on the couch, however you've got there. Don't worry, I will briefly tomorrow teach you one or two rapid induction techniques as well. I won't leave you totally hanging, but if you want to become a master of them, then there is unrivaled training in the boot camp, because I will teach you stuff the way other trainers don't. They'll tell you it's a rapid induction, it works on the psychological level. No, it fucking doesn't. If you're doing it right, it works, because there's, to all inductions, there's some level of physical trickery and physiological trickery. Whereby, if you do things in the right way, and sadly a lot of trainers teach things wrong, or they just don't understand how they're supposed to work, then you can be guaranteed that people will feel certain physiological effects in their body when you apparently suggest to them they will, because of the physical trickery that you use. But because you know it's guaranteed to happen, you can apparently make suggestions that in a few months' time you're going to feel X, Y, Z. And then when they feel X, Y, Z, their only logical conclusion is, as has happened before, that you say things, they imagine it, it becomes reality. So that must be happening again. And when their mind attaches to that, that is where you get critical faculty analytical area bypass, and you're in with the unconscious, subconscious. It's so-called hypnosis. So every single induction, and I teach probably about 30 different ones inside the boot camp, rapids I mean, an instance, that I teach the ones other trainers are teaching wrong. So if you think you already know rapid inductions, trust me, I can teach you properly in the boot camp so that you never fail. Because not only will it be presented in a manner where it's never your fault, it's theirs, but also I can guarantee the worst case scenario, if somebody, when you suddenly go sleep, shake their hand or whatever, doesn't immediately close their eyes and go into zombie state, I am saying that tongue in cheek, the worst case scenario is you can immediately say to them, wow, I think you got a little tiny bit scared there by the sensations you were feeling. Just tell us what you felt. And they always do in the times that happen say, well, you know, you said I was going to feel this sensation here in my body. Well, I bloody well did, and yeah, it did scare me a bit, because that's always the case, because of the way I've structured tricks into all of those techniques, so that they genuinely feel something physiologically. I'll teach you one or two of them tomorrow, fear not. Back to complete mind therapy, because for this, our induction is merely the boring muscular relaxation induction, where effectively, I'm not going to go through it word for word, because otherwise that would take 20 minutes, about 15 minutes alone. What I'll tell you is that I tell the person to imagine in their mind's eye, and I use better wording than this, and the reason I do, it's more precision. You'll never get better than the wording that I'm going to tell you to use. I'll come to that in a minute. But what that wording effectively tells them to do, but in a way that cannot be equalled or improved upon, because it's got embedded commands in, it's got metaphors, it's got every psychological technique you could possibly think of. So you don't even have to understand how those psychological techniques work. As long as you use them at the right time in the right way, they will work. I've done all the work for you. Is that ultimately we're just going to get them to imagine different muscle groups in the body, starting at their toes, then their feet, then the lower leg, the upper leg, the hips, the chest, the lower back area, upper back area, the neck, all the way up, down their arms to the fingertips, and then the face and the jaw and the forehead. And we mention each different muscle group each time. And I tell them to imagine, as they visualise that in their mind's eye, that it's almost as if they can see the muscle groups are like pieces of rope tied together in knots. And those knots metaphorically represent all the stresses, tensions, worries, fears and apprehensions of days, weeks, months and years gone by that have been holding them back in life. And in a moment I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and on the count of 3, when I click my fingers like that, I'd like them to imagine in their mind's eye, visualising all of those knots untying. But before we do that, what I'd like you to do, because we're starting on your feet, is to physically tense your feet up. Excellent. And that's a sign and a signal that you're imagining the ropes tied together as knots. Now on the count of 3, as well as imagining the knots untying and becoming separate, loose, limp, relaxed, so heavy and so tired pieces of rope, I also want you at that moment, that very same instant that I click my fingers, to just let all the tension go out of your feet and release that tension that you put in them. Not yet, if you understand. Excellent. Then we're going to do that with different areas of your body. So starting with your feet, tense your feet, That's a sign and a signal of all those knots, pieces of rope tied together as knots, representing all the stresses, tensions, worries, fears and apprehensions of days, weeks, months and years gone by. 1, they're starting to rapidly untie. Sorry, I screwed up myself there. We're going to count backwards from 3 to 1. I'll come to that in a minute. That's because I've not got my script in front of me. Yes, I use a script for this. I'm going to count backwards from 3 down to 1, and on the count of 1, when I click my fingers, they'll separate. So I've got 3, they're starting to rapidly untie. 2, becoming so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy, and so tired. And on 1, just let all that tension go now, so limp, so loose, like a loose, limp rag doll. That's excellent. Now it's almost as if, in a way that feels right for you, that's calm, safe and secure, there's some kind of sensation. Maybe it's a warmth, maybe it's a positive, happy tingling that moves from your feet to your ankles into your lower and leg areas. Now tense up your lower leg areas and just imagine those knots tied together. And now 3, the knots start to rapidly untie. 2, so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy, so tired. 1, just let that tension go. And I could carry on. We do the same with the upper legs, the hips, the lower back, the stomach area, the shoulders, the arms, the wrist, the fingertips, the jaw, the head, the face, the brow, the whole body. Tips of the toes, tips of the fingers, everything in between. Do it each area in pretty much the same way. And each time I use the stereotypical voices that, and just let them go. Drifting down, sinking down. So limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy and so tired. As the deeper you go, the better you'll feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go with every breath that you take. Every noise that you hear and every word that I say merely serving as a sign and a signal to help you relax more completely. And you realise now that any noises don't bother you, they just allow you to drift down, sink down, deeper and deeper. Oh, so tired. And yes, I'll yawn, so it sounds weird to them, and because yawning's infectious even if their eyes are closed, and together with the darkness and the warmth and the aromatherapy oils and the winky wanky new age music and the boredom of the 15 minutes of going through the body, and the fact as Dr. Herbert Benson mentions in Relaxation Response and Beyond the Relaxation in Response, and as is mentioned by Jacobson, with Jacobson's progressive relaxation method, which is to tense the muscle groups and then physically release them. We combine the fact that if you tense your feet now, if you really tense your feet, screw and curl up your toes and all that, and hold it for a little bit, and then just let it go. Notice you feel a genuine, oh, that's good, that's better to let it go back to its normal position. Now in truth, they might just feel like it did before, but you weren't as consciously aware of what it felt before as you were when you tensed it. So when you release it, you then become aware that it feels better than it did when it was tensed up. So in your mind, it's processed that you're genuinely feeling a sense of relaxation. I've suggested words, you visualise them, it becomes reality. It's step 3 of that power triangle we spoke about. And it happens with all the muscle groups through the body. So by the time you've got to the end, they've probably nodded off to sleep. But if they haven't, they're definitely in so-called hypnosis, because we've got critical bypass a long time ago. A hell of a long time ago. Arguably, we had that before they were on the couch with the bookends of 0 to 10. Arguably, we had it before they came through the door, through our advertising, marketing and what we've charged them, and our perception and prestige they've attached to us. But anyway, we go through the full body. The script for that, I'll mention in a minute. I used to use the one from the APHP, but now I use the one that's in the Complete Mind Therapy package, which actually I think is the same script from the APHP for the Progressive Relaxation Induction, to be honest. So once we've gone through the full body, I say to them, that's fantastic. You're so deeply relaxed, you're so deeply asleep that anything I suggest to you now will happen for your own good, will happen for your own good. And anything I suggest to you that you will do from this moment forward as an automatic reflex action in your everyday life will automatically happen. In fact, you'll awaken each morning with an inner glow of confidence, a renewed optimism to life, a more positive attitude to get things done. And you'll find that with every breath you take, every noise you hear, every thought that you think of everyday life, every stimulus around you will just somehow have this magical positive benefit of serving as a sign and a signal for you to continue as the XYZ that you have now become and continue to be. Future pacing. But I'm not talking directly to your unconscious now. Slightly raise my voice for your unconscious now, because some would argue it's an embedded command that the unconscious. I think that's bullshit, but hey, it always makes me have a bit of a giggle when I do it anyway. But to make sure that we're totally at a level where our work here today together will be 1,000,000% beneficial for you, we need to make sure you're at the perfect level. So, as I talk to your unconscious mind now, I'm going to count backwards again. We counted backwards when I remembered my script from 3 to 1 for each of the muscle relaxing. This time I'm going to count backwards from 10 down to 1. And on each count backwards, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye in a way that feels right for you, that it's almost as if you can see a staircase of relaxation that takes you down in a calm, safe and secure manner to the world of your dreams and your imagination. 10. We're going to start that journey down into the world of your dreams and imagination as the deeper you go. The better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go, drifting down, sinking, and all this bollocks. And so it goes on with different things being said for each number going down to the number 1, telling them each time that they've gone 100 times deeper, more relaxing and enjoyable and all that. You don't need to know it perfectly, that's the basic structure. You could make it up, or you could use the precision-honed script that I've given you, which is what I do to this day. Once I perfected it, I cut out all the shit, so there's only words there that are necessary, so that everything has an